boy. It's my boy in the chat. Beside me, holding my horn as usual. Hello, Nicholas. Nickelodeon and Nicky Canoe. How are you, my darlings? I'm all good. There's 3 in the chat. I just want to start with tonight by saying to everybody, last night is last night. Today is today. It's a new day and a new dawn. And let's move forward. And let's not talk about last night. Hi, Eileen. Hey, Nettie.
Look who just came in too.
Oh, Rosie. Everybody's coming in. Oh my God, everybody's coming in at this time. So, with that being said, guys, how is everyone in this happy Thursday?
Busy.
Yeah. Busy for
stressful day for me, I'm afraid.
Stressful day. Do you need good vibes sent to you? Prayers and good vibes sending to you.
Thank you. Just another Thursday. Hi, Eileen. Hey, Nettie, Eric, and Sarah Louise. Not too bad. I'm quite sore still in the face, and still bits of my face is numb. But apart from that, I'm not too bad. Rocking and rolling to be back onto the shows tonight. And as everybody knows, strong viewers advice, discretion as usual. Do you like my UV bit for it? The show is for over 18s only. I just thought I would add that wee bit in.
Box.
Aye.
Amazon box in the background.
Oh, thank you very, very much. Thank you very much.
You're going to have to go. You're under 18. Go on.
The other thing I should bring up, obviously, as you guys know, 2 nights was one hell of a night we had for us.
Come on, Nicolou, tell us.
It's when we had that tornado event 2 nights ago.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw the video of the storm.
Yeah, that was after when the storm had passed. So, that night we were extremely lucky. And this was such a very unusual tornado event to have, especially in the month of February. We have not gotten anything like that before. So we were just in disbelief that this all occurred, and it was definitely scary, especially since it happened after dark.
I must admit, last week we had tornado warnings here in the UK.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, apparently, according to the meteorological office, apparently we get more tornadoes per square mile than the USA does.
Yeah,
I never knew that.
That's a lot.
Our tornadoes are either small water spouts or they don't even register as F1s. But technically, they're still tornadoes.
Yeah.
But
and of course, Rosie, for you who lives down in Oklahoma, it's no surprise for you guys at all.
It's called Tornado Alley.
Yeah, you guys.
They call it Tornado Alley.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, to kind of put it in a simple perspective, because I got the reports about this last night, and I actually heard about this while we were on, because we ran downstairs to the basement as soon as we heard the sirens going, and had the weather. We had not Weather Channel. We actually had Channel 9 of WGN News. That's our Chicago weather station, and while we were down there taking shelter, I started getting reports of at least 10 other tornado sightings in the northern part of the state. So it was a nightmare that was unfolding. There were other supercell thunderstorms that were producing multiple tornadoes. So we had no idea that Illinois essentially was in the grip of a rare February tornado outbreak. And some people would say, well, if it dissipates, it's no big deal because it's gone. That's not how it works, of course. That's how these supercell storms, they cycle. They'll produce a tornado, it will dissipate, wall cloud will then reorganize, then you got another tornado. So it was bad. It was really bad. But fortunately, we didn't lose our house. So we still have power running, still got a house, have a roof over our heads. And I often say this a lot, but this time we were lucky. But for tornadoes, there's always a next time.
And
there
also,
is always an...
And also, Nick, your internet's running all right.
Yes, it is.
Maybe it's a tornado that felt that one. So we'll go to the comment. The building. I think I'm over 18. Sarah Louise, I need to see a wee bit of ID, love. Hi, Roger. Hey, Rita. Hey, Nettie. You're only 16. So come on, let's see the passport.
She can't even buy alcohol.
Goodness, never say die. That's it, Rosie. Terrified we're lucky we're here. I don't run at the basin if it was going to kill it. It could kill me in the could. Eric, you're still mad.
I'm just going to say this. For all those who are saying they're over 18, looks like I'm going to have to be the bouncer for the show. See who's telling the truth and who's not.
I would, Nicole. I would, Nicky. And I just want to start by giving everybody this. To everyone, right? I just thought I would give you a special loving tonight. Roger says they've had high winds, heavy rain in Kentucky where I live yesterday morning.
If I could just share, if I could, sorry, I just want to say real quick, if you don't mind, because I'd like to show these real quick. Don't mean to change the subject, but I have these images that were actually taken out of the storm. I just want to show a quick view of it. It's just 5 pictures, just so you guys get an idea of how bad these were. This occurred actually in the town of Sandwich, Illinois, which is about 50 miles from me. Yeah, we got a town called Sandwich. It's this was it's just about an hour away from us, but this is what was captured that night. Check this out.
Wow.
Holy
wow,
God.
That's a good photo. That's a really good photo.
Yeah, it's either a shelf cloud or that's either possibly even the wall cloud or a mesocyclone. So that's but then here's this next one. This is where things get far more terrifying. Look at this.
Holy God,
that's a house.
Right.
Houses.
Right behind the houses.
Yeah.
Then we got this one here.
Cool.
That one looks right by the interstate. Where's that a dam? It's the interstate with the bridge,
I think that's by the interstate. They didn't give the exact location of where this was.
There's some really good photos though, like that someone took.
Yeah, this one's probably my favorite.
Wow.
Look at that.
Oh wow.
It's like the colours in there as well.
Yeah, right.
Set it out.
See the red color in the background of it? What I'm actually speculating is what's known as, you don't really see these unless you're actually above the thunderstorm, but that might have been a sprite, which is those red flashes. And then finally, this is probably the most frightening image of them all. And finally.
Oh, holy shit. That's a good couch, Nick.
Classic cone-shaped tornado.
Yeah.
But
that's what, if you take photos here in Oklahoma, that's what they're all going to look like, basically, is that right there.
Exactly,
or they might be curved a little bit, like you got your funnel, but it's curved a little bit.
Yeah, like this one.
Yeah, like that, yeah. They all look like that. You don't get any of those other cool photos like the ones you showed.
Yeah, but that's what almost hit us. We were almost in the path of this thing, even if it didn't.
Complete with a photo bomber.
That didn't get blown away.
But anyways, sorry to change the subject. I just wanted to show you guys.
Nick, I suppose since it's you, I'll forgive you, right? So tonight, guys, I was sitting the other night and I like to watch Amazon. Sorry, my wash basket's in my road. I like to put up a fight. Oh, hey, you fight my boy.
Who's Black
right,
Bull?
Eric.
That's my friend Reg.
Huh?
Oh, hello, Reg. How you doing?
Oh, your friend Reg?
Yeah.
Hi, Chris. That's my friend Chris. No, genuine. Just in case Wayne thinks I'm mocking him, that is my friend Chris. When I see pictures like that, I can understand why the AKA wah.
Yep.
So I was sitting watching Amazon, guys, and there's an Amazon exclusive now called Murder in a Teacup. And I thought, do you know what? I'm going to put this on and I'm going to see what it's like. And I really sat and I watched it. It's an hour and a half documentary and it looks at a guy called Graham Yong, whom from a young age, his mother developed pleurisy, during pregnancy, and she died of TB. 3 months after her, she gave birth to obviously Graham Young. So obviously the father was devastated as whatever they would be if they lost their loved one, especially your spouse. So Graham was put into care, his Aunt Winnie, while hey Robert, hey Nigel, while his elder sister Winfred was taken in by the grandparents. Now, it made this documentary documentary, right, this documentary made me, I spit it out. I was speaking a wee bit of French there, but not the French I like to speak. But the documentary got me thinking, because when you looked at a young Graham, he was very fascinated with poison. He was very, very fascinated, and it comes very evident through the whole episode of this man. Yeah, Eileen, it's true what you're saying. He's a very strange little boy that became even more obsessed with death. Yes, he is the one, Sarah Louise, who poisoned his work colleague. But what was ironic
for that too, though, who was English but in America.
What got me thinking in this documentary was this young man was put into Broadmoor, but he was allowed to come out of Broadmoor because he had the IQ of being able to get by the psychiatry. And the thing about it was he killed his own stepmom because his father met somebody else whom he married. And it was said that from he met the wife, they had a good relationship, but then the relationship became thawed when he was older. And obviously he did show signs of being separated from his auntie. He made no effort to socialise with other kids his own age. Now, as kids, we're all interested in subjects. And we've all probably into subjects that sometimes might be deemed out of age range. Well, Graham Young became obsessed with people like Dr. Crippen, who, if people don't know who Dr. Crippen is the infamous poisoner.
That's the one I was talking about.
By the time he reached his teens, he had developed a fascination with Adolf Hitler. But it was more Adolf Hitler that he became so obsessed with. Sorry, Nick, what were you going to say?
I hadn't really had enough time to really do a lot of research, so I'm kind of reading it, and that's exactly what I'm seeing right now. It just kind of took me by surprise when you said that.
And as Rosie said as well, rightly so, he was obsessed with Dr. Crippen, but it was more Hitler that he was centred and focused on, because he took to wearing some clothing representing all of obviously things to do.
It also says here too that he considered Victorian poisoner William Palmer as a hero, like he looked at him as a hero, in which, ironically enough, someone who's not only a famous famous writer, but a novelist, but also kind of one of our paranormal ancestors, Charles Dickens, called Palmer the greatest villain that ever stood in the Old Bailey.
Yeah, I mean, he read odd about different ones. He also, which I've just learned that he read the occult, claiming knowledge of Wiccans and local covens. He was just like academically, I mean, his only interests were chemistry, forensic science, and toxicology, but limited his own poisons, definitely. And do you know what's quite ironic? Eileen was in this documentary. He poisoned people in Broadmoor.
Wow.
People wouldn't even take stuff from him. He poisoned one of his schoolmates. He used to make cakes, and there was obviously, it must have been somebody in the documentary that went to school with him and said that he used to make them all cakes. But if that guy asked for one, he refused. He didn't give that guy one. So I don't know if it's because he liked him.
It was his friend.
His
he
friend.
saw him as a friend and didn't want to kill him, so he didn't. He wouldn't allow him to have cake.
Yeah.
I mean, some of his journal, they'd been keeping a journal. Now, it's quite ironic. He wasn't keeping a journal of what he was doing. He was keeping a journal of the effects it had on the people. He would be writing down and how they were getting better if they were getting worse. It was like a fucked up Harold Shipman in such a way that it was kind of like. But the limited school, this is where Broadmoor, I think, made the biggest mistake. Broadmoor knew what they had in his hands because he went in from a young age. I think, don't quote me if I'm wrong, but I think he was 14 he went into Broadmoor. He was 14 or 15, it was either one of two. He went into Broadmoor. 14.
That's correct, yes.
So everybody knows I paid attention to the documentary. So he was 14 years old, right? So 14-year-old in Broadmoor, they are technically at fault to how he got the job at Hadley's because he wanted to work again. And now, if you know somebody is poisoning people and is well capable of it, why would you then go and get them a job at a pharmaceutical?
Yeah.
Right.
That was nuts. But his father encouraged him as well because when he was young, he bought him a chemistry set, which observed his attention for hours at a time. By the age of 13, his comprehension knowledge of toxicology, actually, believe it or not, folks, and here is what the shocker is. He was able to walk in to chemists and buy toxin. In fact, and they actually sold him because his knowledge was so comprehensive about the different toxins. They just was like that. There you go, because they thought he was 17-year-old, and his biggest quantity of killings wasn't. He was given a reference by Broadmoor, and they didn't actually disclose. Which Eileen makes a good point. They did disclose he was in there. Was it mercury used? It was
cyanide too. It said.
It was thallium.
Nightshade.
Yeah, he probably used a lot of things if he was that interested in all of the.
He knew what he was doing because he researched it all very well.
Oh,
and different things have different effects. There's like different substances and different toxins have different effects.
And in the documentary, it does say how many grains that he was using, but he knew how many he used, and he knew what would be enough, and he knew what would be too less. And obviously the documentary named the friend. I'm not going to name the friend, but the friend that he poisoned at school, that seemed to be his main target, suffered extensive periods of vomiting, painful cramps, headaches. He did miss a lot of school, but it wasn't just that. I mean, he was lucky to survive as well. So, I mean, that takes me to when he gets to the place where he works and the people that he'd done it to as well. I think, see if it wasn't for the fact that he tipped the doctor off, or the person at the work, I think it was one of the work doctors, he had tipped off and said, have you tried the thallium? Maybe it was thallium.
Yeah, he said, could it be thallium poisoning? And the company doctor had gone to the director and said, that's not making any sense. How would someone that's just a trainee storekeeper
and we started to ask,
know that much?
And that's the alarm bells ringing.
And it's just, when you watch that documentary, guys, obviously you guys may have watched it, but it's eye-opening. You think to yourself, should there be stricter laws on people who are in places like Carstairs over in America? Nick, Rosie, what's a mental hospital that's for the insane over in America?
Asylums?
Yeah, asylums.
Yeah, they're asylums, like mental asylums, healthcare asylums, rehab facilities.
Right. See, for serial killers and they're not fit to go to prison, name me a place that does it in America. What's the name of one that...
I know that Nick knows one that's for like capital murderers or whatever.
That's the... Well, I mean, that's more of a prison, though. That's the Supermax.
What's Pembroke? Yeah, the Supermax. There's a couple of those.
Well, the other another one I could think of. I mean, sometimes it's not only just for mentally. I mean, it's for physically. It's, mental state hospitals that, like Unearthed, for example.
Do you know what? I'm just going to use Waverley Sanatorium, right?
Well, actually,
I know the Waverley doesn't do it anymore, but I'm going to use that as prime example, right?
You actually have a good point. Sometimes sanatoriums are also used for mental health patients. Yeah, the ADX.
The ADX.
Yep,
the ADX Supermax, right? Over here in Scotland, it would be the Carstairs. Down in England, Wayne, it's no Broadmoor anymore because Broadmoor, I'm sure, is shut.
There were, over here in the UK, we had quite a few, because we had one up in Liverpool, we had one here in Colchester. And I worked at the one here in Colchester. It was Severals Hospital. That was both medical and mental health. But we had a patient there that was in Broadmoor.
I just looked it up.
Yeah.
He was originally in Broadmoor at the same time as Graham Yong.
Sending you guys a link also.
And then in the late 80s, he was transferred to Severals Hospital in Colchester because he had past what they deemed necessary for him to be just put into a normal mental health unit. But he still had temper and anger issues. And if he hadn't had, his medication would be given to him on a Thursday morning. So Tuesday afternoon and all day Wednesday, you stay clear of him because his anger issues would be there and you'd hear him shouting and screaming in the corridors. And the staff would still let him out anyway. But you knew there was something wrong with him. When the first time I started working there, you knew there was something not quite right because he would say that he was going fishing with his brother and his dad at the weekend.
Right.
Well, we all knew that he killed his dad and his brother. He killed his family with an axe, and that's what got him sent to Broadmoor. So when he come up to you, you knew he was completely out of his trolley on medication because he'd be saying he's going fishing with his brother and his dad. And you'd be like, oh my! But you could have a good conversation with him once he'd taken his medication. It was all right.
Yeah,
but
I agree with what Eileen said, that he kind of wanted bragging rights or credit. That's why he said something about the thallium.
And Lois, also to answer your question, I looked up Broadmoor. Broadmoor, although it's obviously a historic hospital, it's still in operation to this day.
I thought Broadmoor was, but I wasn't too sure. I remember buying poisons for domestic use in chemists and signing the poisons book. It's mind-blowing how Broadmoor ever let him out. I did volunteer work in a psychiatric ward that had court commissions with the criminally insane. It's a hard job, Eileen. Lorna. Hey Lorna, how you doing? The question we've got to all ask is, if they had kept him, if they'd seen through him, they should have kept him longer. But the question is, what we should really be questioning is obviously about Broadmoor. Broadmoor, should they have disclosed, knowing fine well, he's going to a place that works with toxicology, and about his past, the fact that he's had history. Now, that person that obviously he poisoned at school is still, he survived.
He must have been
obviously.
very influential over who gave the reference. Like he must have very much been influential.
The people in Broadmoor that did the reference for him, they had also said that he had a good work ethic. He was well presented and smart. You know, they crossed over the T's and dotted the I's in the right places. And it was all in a bid for him to sort of progress. But it's all, you know, the way they would have seen it, it's all about, you know, rehabilitation and giving a second chance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That would have been, most places' ethos is rehabilitation and a second chance, you know. And obviously, because of his high IQ, he was able to sort of enable that to happen a lot quicker than most normal people would have done.
Yeah.
And so he just basically did what he had to do to make them happy and feel safe and secure in releasing him. And, you know, you see documentaries and stories about it today where prisoners have deliberately been the perfect prisoner in jail, and then the second they're released, go back to commit crime again.
Many
they
times,
do it on purpose so they can get the early release.
Yeah.
And then as soon as they go out, they do the crime again so that their original sentence gets put back on to the new sentence as well, which means they stay in for longer.
Yeah.
Sometimes it could be a way of keeping out of the way.
Well, the thing about it was he done it to his whole family. He done it to his dad. He done it to his stepmom. He done it to his sister. He was actually banned from his father's bedside, because
that's hilarious.
Wayne feels another spooky Nori coming on.
Eileen, I've had one today. I'm not having another one.
He's like, not today, Satan.
Lorna says he played the part well of being rehabilitated.
Exactly.
Eileen says absolutely had a duty of care to disclose information.
Well, I don't know if they did or not. I think that they would, but I don't know the rules of disclosure of that kind of stuff. But I would have assumed that they did have a duty of care.
Normally, it's patient confidentiality, so there shouldn't
be
what I'm saying. Specific details.
Maybe that's why they couldn't, and that's information was left out because there's a lot of places and institutions and government facilities where you can't release that stuff, and especially if you're seeing a doctor or psychiatrist, they are not supposed to release that stuff unless it's ordered to release it.
I think all they can do is say, yes, he has been here, he has spent an amount of time here doing rehabilitation, and
they wouldn't have tried to get that information if they didn't know it. You know, they wouldn't have asked.
And patient confidentiality would rule supreme. They wouldn't be allowed to disclose that information unless a court orders it.
Yeah, that's what I believe too. I'm pretty sure. And they wouldn't have asked for that at the pharmacy.
I think also the fact that his father demanded that he was never released. And the thing about it was, about the documentary was one of the professionals who was profiling Young said that he was addicted. He was addicted to what he was doing, because he dated to a doctor when he was in Broadmoor. He says, "I'm missing my Aunt Moni. I miss the power it gives me." And the way that they see it is, it was like an addiction that he had. He was addicted to poisoning people. He was addicted to see.
It's like a hunger, like a pit of hunger. Like they have a hunger for it. That's not ever filled, kind of. Or it's only. But
here's the ironic thing, right? So he's this, changed character in Broadmoor, but he told the nurse, "When I get out, I'm going to kill one person." Now this is his quote. not my quote, his quote. When I get out, I'm going to kill one person for every year I've spent in this place. What the hell does that tell you guys?
That's what he's going to do?
That's what he told the nurse. Oh, Ellen! All right, Ellen, bye, Ellen. That's what he told a nurse who worked in Broadmoor before he was released. That he was going to kill one person a year, the fact he started with how long he had been in Broadmoor. So you think about it. He was in there if he was 14. Don't quote me. I'm going to get a stab in the dark. I think it was 25 or 26 that he got released. It could have been a bit younger, but it was somewhere in the mid 20s anyway. So you think about it. There's 20 people. If he hadn't been caught.
His target was to kill eight people. That was what he was targeting, 8 people. And he never got to kill 8 because the last person he got better.
Because
the last guy he gave the poison to, he got taken to hospital and he ended up not taking the stuff that he was given and he started getting better again. Yeah. And then he got released and he stayed clear of Graham Yong so that nothing else could happen. And it was shortly after that point that Graham got caught.
But
fans.
I know it's terrible. Eileen says working in pharmaceutical industry, it's relevant. It's definitely relevant. A child murderer aggressor would never been allowed to work in a creche with their knowledge. Definitely. And Lorna says yes, Eileen, like releasing. I can't really read your comment. Well, that part.
It's
because
like releasing a paedophile to work in a school.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, see if Jeremy York gets struck. It's no loss.
But when they're released, there are restrictions on where they can work at, though. When a P is released, they have restrictions within so many miles of being around anywhere, like a water park, a school, or anything against children. So they're released with that, and they go into a system to where, like, it's pinged. If they try to get a job anywhere, it's going to come up. In this situation with the other guy, that wasn't the situation. Like, they didn't have any knowledge to be able to pull up to see that he had done that stuff.
The thing about it is, sometimes, though, they can fly under the radar.
Yeah.
They can fly under the radar.
I've seen them at libraries, public libraries, sitting down there with children around them.
Remember, in 1971, all those laws that we have now regards to that didn't exist.
Yeah. Well, and there's actually...
So they would have flown under the radar quite easily.
No, Lorna, it's no you, darling. What it is YouTube is coming down hard on Things Network. And it doesn't matter what we say, it just seems to kick.
Better be safe than sorry.
Ball. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Jeremy. I didn't mean to.
So don't worry about it, Lorna. It's no you, darling. It's YouTube. Bean, peas. No, that sort of peas, but peas.
Kitty cat. Kitty cat.
Aye.
That word's a safe word. Kitty cat.
Sorry, Nickelodeon. What's happening?
No, I actually wanted to just throw an example of something since we're talking about this. But yeah, it's amazing of how these people can fly under the radar. And actually another perfect example, like we were talking about certain individuals, including those who have committed that type of crime being released. Actually, and I just learned this a few days ago, probably one of the best examples of it, and we could talk about this, of course, in full detail on another episode, is what's known as the Cook brothers. They were 2 serial killing brothers that terrorized Cleveland, Ohio back in the 70s and early 80s. And they were, although Ohio has the death penalty, they were sentenced to life in prison. However, one of the brothers, Nathaniel Cook, was released in 2018 in spite of what he did. I mean, and to this day, he is still out. And
I've actually seen current stuff about that.
Yeah, it is really enraged. It really enraged a lot of the families of the victims. But it says right here, I'll just throw this out. Nathaniel Cook was released on August 10th, 2018, but his freedom is extremely limited. He's obliged to participate in rehabilitation programs for sex offenders, because he is still a sex offender, to wear a GPS bracelet, and it's forbidden to approach places crowded by children, although it did say in 2019, information surfaced that he was living 200 meters from a school in Toledo. But after an investigation by police, it was found that Cook hadn't violated the rules and regulations and was let off for now. But either way, he may be out, but he's still in a way kind of locked up, if you will, because again, his freedom is extremely limited.
Because there's a lot of places you cannot go also, like hotels. You wouldn't even think about like a hotel, but hotels have kids in them.
That's
you know,
correct.
like theme parks. You can't go anywhere that's enjoyable because children are going to be there.
I mean, for
you go
people,
to church. You can't even go to church.
You can't go to church. I mean, basically, when it comes to these type of individuals, since we kind of brought it up, it's the worst part. A lot of these individuals, like even if you are out of prison, once you are out of prison, but have to follow these new rules, laws, and regulations. Honestly, I'm not trying to encourage like this necessarily, but this is just kind of the truth. Once you're in that situation, you may as well not even exist because you can't do certain things anymore. You're forever marked.
Ellen says, I do
agree with that. I should have.
By the same token, he should have been presented exactly. So coming to obviously the people that he poisoned. Now, obviously, the documentary names names. I'm not going to name names. Young would commit his first murder, and he poisoned a 59-year-old man who was a storeroom manager. And this man was described.
Would you excuse me for just a minute? I just got to. I thought I heard something upstairs. I'll be back in just a minute.
That's Nick away. That's Nick away for the burning food.
I'll be back in just a minute, guys.
No bother, babe. So now we can talk about Nick, and he's not there.
Do it.
Well, he'll still hear me. I've got a face like a fogcom. I've got a voice like a fogcom. So initially, this gentleman's death was recorded as a rare form. Oh, somebody's gave a heart at that comment. A rare form of Eric says Nick has a ghost in his house. Has a rare form some sort of syndrome. And wasn't poisoned. Now, can you imagine that your widow thinks that, and then the police knock the door and say, well, we think he's been poisoned. He would also poison 1, 2, 3, 4 others. 2 he killed. Yeah, he's a way to boil up the fly paper to make tea. You better not be poisoning me, Eileen. Hi, Bill.
Drink, smile, and pray. Is that what he's saying? Drink, smile, and pray?
Yep. But they all survived the last 4 ones. The second murder was a gentleman who was 56-year-old. He was a local councillor and a part-time employee. He wouldn't be so lucky, but everybody was having virus-like symptoms, which became known as the Bovington bug. And Biggs, who had both anatomy and therium slipped into his tea, was the next one to be struck down. And he died on November the 19th, 1971. But suspicions about Young were never caught. And what happened was, you know what can become like, folks, about gossip. So word started to spread about Young and his interest in poisons after he was questioned by Hadley's medical officer, which he had a cocky answer when the police arrested him. His answer was, which one is it you're doing me for? So he was almost cocky. When they turned his bedsit upside down. They found poisons in his bedside, with the incriminating diary, which documented all his victims. He would use them by initial, like he would put such and such. So see that whoever, like I'm going to use Wayne because Nick's not here. So if I was to poison Wayne, I would put WS showed signs of being violently sick, or WS. Don't worry, I'm not poisoning you, sweetie.
My name's Michael. Don't know what you're talking about.
If you get anything in the mail, don't open it if it's from her. No.
Especially if it's from LH. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't accept anything for her either. Everybody's going, be careful. Well, Eric's going, be careful, Wayne. He'll not even let me make him a cappuccino.
Eric's books and t-shirts, all right.
Right, I'll make sure afterwards. And then if I wanted to then go to Rosie, then I'd put RP, showed signs of. And this is what this diary was basically. This diary was observing, and do you know he got so frustrated about the ones who survived because they hadn't died, and he was getting so angry about it. He noted doses that he was giving to victims, the effects on the person, here's what quite the scary thing is, whether he was going to allow each person to live or die. So he almost was playing the hand of God with people. He was choosing if they were going to live or if they were going to die. He confessed to all the poisonings, while also boasting that he'd committed the perfect murder. Now, what we forgot to mention, or I forgot to mention, is the thing that he was using, because most people are going to say, well, how did he get to poison them? How did they not smell it? How did they not taste it? The thing that he was using is the thing that he was using to poison these people had no smell or no taste. So that's how he could get away with it, is because the fact that it had nothing. So people were drinking it. And one of the guys that he did, like, obviously you guys have all watched the documentary, but one of the guys that he did target was one of his work friends. He'd asked to make, obviously, the tea, and he usually wouldn't take tea for Young, but he did. And another thing that this was causing as well, that Young didn't want, was the alopecia. He didn't want the traits being noticeable. The fact that they were getting alopecia.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about it, when he was asked why he'd done it, he said, I suppose I had to cease to see them as people. At least a part of me had. They were simply guinea pigs. When I think of Young, as horrible as this sounds, and I don't like the films because they creep me out, especially the second one. But then the second one kind of falls into Young. It would be the Human Centipede.
Oh, Human
I hate that film.
God, that
I
movie
hate
is
it.
nasty.
I hate. It's not as gross. But what I'm getting at is they were part of the experiments. The Human Centipede.
Yeah, but that's a whole other level.
Oh, believe me,
another one.
they were basically, Eileen. I mean, I don't like the films. I hate the films with vengeance. But the second one kind of fits Young in the sense the creepy. Oh, it was the creepy wee guy for Human Centipede too. See, the first time I ever seen that film, my sharp was there.
I haven't seen the movie. I know what it's about. I've seen the covers of the movies, but I haven't actually watched the movies. I'm just
Rosie,
like,
I'm going to save you a bother. Don't bother because it will emotionally scar you for life.
Yeah, I just don't like poop. I don't like poop.
The only thing that I actually haven't really, I've only seen parts of it. The only time I've ever actually really seen it fully, I guess, that comes close to it, believe it or not, is it was an episode of South Park that parodied that movie. Of course, that was
oh my god!
I haven't seen that episode.
It's funny as hell, but I will say this though. I mean, I know it's a very nasty movie, although like I'm not trying to turn this comedic. I remember speaking to one guy who said he saw that movie, and the response he gave me was kind of strange. It was not what I expected to hear. He said to me, he said, "Oh, hey, Human Centipede, that movie made me hungry while I was watching it." I was like, "What?
Oh my god!"
I was not sure what the hell are you talking about? I don't think
he must have been sarcastic or being a smart aleck.
I hope he was.
It was all right if he was the first in the queue.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
I really hope he was. I hope he was sarcastic. He didn't show me, but I sure hope he was just joking.
Do you know I'm sitting here and I'm cringing because I can see that wee guy in Human Centipede's face, and it's just, oh my lord, I hated it. I watched 2 minutes of that movie. Eric, I never even watched it that long, and it went straight off. So in June 29, the 29th of June 1972, it only taken the jury 1 hour and 38 minutes to convict him. They found him guilty and he was sentenced to life. And he would die at each prison Parkhurst cell in 1990, aged 42.
Which was obviously, that was like literally just 2-3 months after my sister was born. So not that there was a weird coincidence to it, but just thought that was didn't realize that he was there for that long.
Oh no, please, I'm eating. Right, that's it. We're not talking no longer about it.
That's probably a movie we won't even talk about on Fear Fans. Just want to throw that out there.
Oh, thank God.
She said, "No, please, I'm eating," and then it said,
"No." But I don't mean to put empty after dinners, but that's just a wee bit of comparison of what I was trying to get at. In fact, I'm sitting here going, Lois, you could have used a better comparison. But you know me, I like to go with controversial.
Right. Go big or go home? Is that what you're saying?
That's that, love. That's that. We've got it right in the nutshell.
Or as I like to say a lot, F around and find out.
That's it.
F around and find out.
Oh, wow. What a show it's been. Talking about controversial, I just want to bring up, don't worry, I can see Wayne's face. His face is looking so serious. Don't look so serious.
I think he looks shocked.
I think he's trying to shit, to be honest, while he's sitting.
Yes, I'm on my commode in the kitchen.
I'm saying nothing. Tomorrow night show.
Hey, stranger things have happened.
Can I just add to the Graham Yong thing?
Yes, babe.
Nobody has come up with this apart from my wonderful grey matter inside this horrible big dome head of mine. Graham Yong carried around with him a copy of Mein Kampf.
Really?
That's a book that I couldn't remember. That's why I haven't brought it up.
Wait a minute. He was very interested in Adolf Hitler and the Nazi regime in general. I did a bit of prying and I did a bit of theory testing. Now,
I don't like you, Mr. Frieden.
Because I'm an intellectual. I'll let you know. I'm not
Echo
an idiot.
chamber.
I'm not stupid. However, there are a number of doctors, predominantly around 1938 to 1945, that were responsible for a lot of experiments. And some of those experiments, believe it or not, involved poisons. Now, in 1943, December 1943 to October 1944, experiments were conducted at Buchenwald to investigate the effect of various poisons. The poisons were secretly administered to experimental subjects in their food. The victims then died as a result of the poison and were killed immediately in order to permit autopsies. Then in September 1944, experimental subjects were shot with poisonous bullets, suffered torture, and often died. So there were others where they were actually used various mustard gas chemicals to see what the after effects were, chemical burns. There was some there that were actually injected with various bacteria, mainly, oh crap, what was it? Clostridium perfringens and of the such. And then they were monitored to see what happened. There were some groups at Dachau that were actually sent into cages filled with malaria mosquitoes. And they studied the after effects. My look at it is he was continuing where these main doctors had finished off, because after the Nuremberg trials, they actually did something called the doctor trials.
That's right.
All the Nazi doctors that were caught after the World War II had finished were then sentenced, judged and sentenced in these doctor trials.
So, I know a few were sentenced to death. I know another couple others were sentenced to life in prison. And I think
when you look like the likes of Dr. Mengele, who did a lot of experiments on twins.
Yep.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
There were other ones. There were other ones there about trying to develop pills and tablets to actually try and perfect anticoagulants or coagulants, so that if a soldier was shot, I think it was Dr. Sigmund Rascher, he actually experimented with the effects of Polygal, which is a substance made from beet and apple pectin, and that aided the blood to clot. So in theory, if you gave someone a Polygal tablet and they were shot, it would help the blood coagulate a lot quicker, and it would save that person's life, because then they'd be able to be treated, the wound would be able to be fixed or whatever, and then they'd be able to be given an anticoagulant to make the clot go, and so on, which would then allow that soldier to get back into battle as quick as possible. So there was a lot of experiments done by these Nazi doctors, and him being such a sort of fanatic about Hitler and the experiments and things like that, it wouldn't be surprising if he's read somewhere along the line about all these experiments from the doctor trials and gone, do you know what? I'm going to try some of that. And he's decided that he's going to do tests on poisons himself, because he was known to have hidden in 3 separate places stashes of poisons in the countryside. So if one lot was found, he could refer to another lot. So he knew what he was doing. He planned it all along. And I'm wondering whether that was what he was up to. He was continuing research on the poisons that these doctors at Bacchanal had done.
Yeah.
Sounds like he was playing God as well.
Yeah. It wouldn't be surprising. I mean, you look at what they did with the Nazi human experimentation. They were doing all sorts of things. They were doing altitude experiments, the blood coagulations, bone, muscle, and nerve transplant experiments. I mean, they'd taken the nerves out of people without anesthesia. Can you imagine the pain? That
my God, it would have been horrific.
Then obviously Dr. Mengele did his experiments on twins. They did 1941, the Luftwaffe conducted experiments with the intent of discovering means to prevent and treat hypothermia, where the testees were actually taken up to 15,000 feet to see whether their pilots could live under them temperatures.
Exactly.
Obviously, we know that you can, because obviously within the right situation and wearing the right suits and stuff like that, now you can go higher. So, you know, when you get to the likes of Dr. Sigmund Rascher, who conducted a lot of these experiments by putting them in pressure chambers, giving them vivisections, then seawater experiments where people were just given nothing but seawater to drink.
Oh my
no
gosh.
food, no fresh water, just seawater.
That's a slow, terrible death.
To see what would happen to the human body if they just had water.
Yep.
You dehydrate, and then obviously they would show the symptoms.
And their insides come out their booty.
There were survivors, and those survivors were able to testify at the doctor trials.
Why?
Oh, wow.
So,
you know, you are giving me an idea, but I'm going to have to kind of wheedle it past Jeremy York and Viv.
The voices, Lorna. It was the voices. The voices made them do it.
That's it. That is it.
And I've said this before. I'm just going to say this real quick, and I know we've said this before in previous episodes. I mean, even with Graham Yong, with what I've looked at, he is not the typical type of serial killer who had the persona or upbringing. He wasn't like abused as a child or anything like that. He wasn't like sent away. He didn't have bullying problems. I mean, I did a few other research. He very rarely had any actual issues with anybody. So, you know, this once again shows that when it comes to certain serial killers like that, it's not always the result of a bad childhood or upbringing. It's just we hear this a lot. They were pretty much born evil from the start.
Nick, it comes back to the old age.
By the spirit of Dr. Mengele.
Yep.
This comes back to the old age, and I don't care what anybody says. In paranormal, we talk about frequencies. In true crime and serial killers, you talk about nature or nurture debate. It always comes back to the nature and nurture debate. Not every serial killer has a bad upbringing. They're born evil.
They are.
And people can say nobody's born evil. You do not know what's in the mind of a person. Like, you could walk by thousands of people, whether you're in England, whether you're in Scotland, whether you're in the United States. You walk by millions of people. How many of them among that you're walking among do you know are offenders of the worst type? Serial killers? You don't know. You just don't know.
Exactly. You walk past thousands of people a day. You don't know what that person is like. You don't know what that person's about. You don't know their history. And you certainly don't know their future. So you don't know whether they are a serial killer or just a single killer.
Well, and there's not only that. Same thing also, believe it or not, to your next door neighbors. They always say, you don't know what goes on behind those walls in the houses. You know, they could be your best friends in the entire world. They may never show any type of suspicious activity or anything like that when you're around them. But when it's like comes nightfall, you call it a night. You could be going to sleep, and on the weekends or after work, while you're asleep, your next door neighbor could be, you know, breaking 9 kinds of laws, and one of them is committing murder.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, it's like we have at the moment. We have our Boberman has got a bad habit of releasing them sort of people into communities near schools, and it's not until people find out, and all of a sudden it spreads. Next minute, you know, there's a mob outside the house screaming for them to be moved out, and then you have to put a petition in for them to be moved. And they're like, oh, sorry, we didn't realise. Well, you did, because that's why you put them there.
Yeah.
They claim they don't know what they're doing, but they do. They know the reason why they were in prison in the first place, and yet they still move them near a school.
Right.
You don't do that sort of thing. You have to get them as far away from places like that, not closer.
Well, you guys remember I told you that, honestly, probably the most perfect example like that, and you guys have known this. I've talked about this on the show. I almost said years ago. I meant weeks ago.
I was going to say that. Jesus Christ. Dick, you're on silent.
From Eileen and Lorna.
Silent. You're silent.
You guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I accidentally unplugged the microphone by mistake. No,
Minority Report. I think of Minority Report.
No, what I was going to say was, and I've talked about this before, if you guys remember, I told you about that guy that was a former friend of mine. He delivered a threat to. I don't want to say it entirely because I don't know if I don't want YouTube to get down on us either. But he delivered a threat to our school, and as a result of what he did, I mean, he lived probably about a good mile down from where our school was. Now, as far as he is today, I don't know exactly what his story is, though. I told you he's still going down the dark path, but I know for a fact he was not allowed to come back to our school afterwards. You know, he may have still been only 19 years old. He may have still been technically, still a high school student, but even for high school students, that crosses the line. They tell him, you can't come back here anymore. You can't live in this area anymore because you're a threat to the other. You're a threat to the other students. So they had to isolate him for a very long period of time.
Mm-hmm. Eric's asking what a normal serial killer Dahmer was a family man. Eileen says you'd be horrified to know who is walking among us. I had to work closely with the police and Home Office, keeping tabs on terrorists and their locations so they could be monitored by living among us. Like that guy, Lorna says, like that guy that kept his daughter in the cellar and none of the neighbours even suspected. And Chanel, hi Chanel, had said Jeffrey Dahmer got away with years. No one realised how sick he was. But you look at other killers since we're going down this rabbit hole, like BLT. BLT was living a normal family life.
BTK?
I knew that.
BTK. Hey, you're making lettuce tomato.
I was going to say, how could a sandwich be responsible for multiple deaths?
See, you assholes could have let me roll with this, so it didn't make me look.
Then everyone's going to look it up. Everyone's going to look it up and they'd be like, I don't see a BLT murderer. Who is this?
BTK.
Who? Go ahead. Yeah, bind, torture, kill. That's the only way I remember.
The BT
sandwich.
Eric's laughing. A sandwich. BLT one was laughing as well.
I'm already just thinking back of those the pictures.
He used to bacon, lettuce, tomato his victims.
I just remember.
That was that.
I was telling about that town that was hit by a tornado. I told you that was called Sandwich over there.
Yeah, no,
that's what it is. If you thought that, you come on and upset my routine. That's what it is. So the BT
made her hungry. She thought about a BLT.
That's it. The best it is, I don't like BLTs. BTK even, right? So BTK lived a normal life, had a marriage, had a family, and there's the picture where you see where his daughter eat the sarnie but don't drink the tea. Totally agree with you, Eileen. I had a picture of his daughter. Aye, you could kill me with bacon, lettuce, and Eric, what is wrong with you tonight? The family's guys,
he likes bacon.
Terrifying. Exactly, Lorna. Exactly. But it brings you to, the subject of, well, you don't really know. Again, there is normal family guys who live double lives, and you just think to yourself, or women, I'm not being sexist, because women could do it as well, that live normal lives, and you wouldn't even think about it. And then when people hear these stories, they get all tight, thinking, oh, this person, oh, I don't believe it, and it isn't till the evidence comes out, then people are like, well, that actually did happen.
I got a question is because I was just thinking of this just rang at the top of my head. And this is actually a show that's still running to this day. It's actually on Investigation Discovery. You guys ever seen that show, Evil Lives Here? You guys ever watched that? Okay, so here's a question for you about one episode. There was one that was called I Still Love My Dad, in which they interviewed a young woman who,
his daughter?
Yeah, his daughter. She used to live in Arkansas, but now she lives down in Alabama. And she had no idea until many years later that her dad, who was essentially a family man, was actually a serial killer. He killed in 3 different states. And although he did display some violent behavior when she and her sisters were younger, but as time went on, that hostility kind of started to diminish, and he started to become a lot more normal, I guess. But he committed a murder, he did in, I think one down in Georgia, another in Tennessee, I think also down in Alabama, and possibly Florida.
Exactly, Lorna.
Yeah, it's yep. Eileen's seen that episode. She knows exactly what I'm talking about. There was a picture. This will bring back memories. There was a picture that was taken when she and her siblings were just young girls, and it's a picture of her and her dad, and he's doing it in a playful manner in the picture where he has his hands around one of the girls' throats, but just doing it, in a harmless way. It's chilling to look at because
a kid.
Well, no, he was just doing it gently, not actually.
But
doing
at a kid.
Yeah, it was when they were kids. But looking at that picture though was chilling because among the murder victims, to me is
like a red flag. I would see it automatically.
Yeah, it is. It is. But what's chilling was
unless they're in Halloween costumes or something. Then
yeah. If it was like actually something involving
pretending to be Michael Myers or something, I wouldn't. But other than that, that's a red flag.
Well, in this case, when it came to his victims, among the murders he committed, he strangled at least 2 victims using the very same hands that he was using. He was using the very same hands that he brutally murdered a mother and young daughter, and using it for a picture opportunity on his own.
Because it was a natural thing for him, and he just did it in the photo and didn't think about it because it was it was second nature. You know what I mean?
That's correct. Yeah, it was. It's a very unsettling episode.
If you'll do it to a kid in just a photo, I mean, just that's just off.
It's bad. A very unsettling episode.
If they don't have discretion to not do that, then I would red flag.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's very unsettling, and I don't know if she'll ever see the show, but I will say, I do feel absolutely sorry for her, knowing that she shares his genes.
It's always when you go, Nikki.
These poor family members of these serial killers, especially kids, they just feel nothing but guilt. They know it's not their fault, but they still carry their genes around, and it's heartbreaking for them. So I don't, if I was able to say something to her, I would not blame her the least bit. She didn't do this. Her dad did it. He's the guilty one.
Don't show a comment. I'm not 200% sure.
Yeah. We'll keep an eye on it.
The C one, they spelled it different, but
no, just
no different.
No,
first time I've seen someone on. First time I've seen that from that destination.
So with that being said, obviously, I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
I want to say something. It's just a movie quote, but it totally pertains to what you were saying. And it's from the original Scream movie. And I'm pretty sure Stuart Marker said it. And he said, no, it was Jamie Kennedy. And he said, the killer can be anyone.
That's kind of true, though. That's actually true.
We're
That's
talking about the normal people or the husbands or people that have their crap together.
Yeah, Lorna knows exactly. Lorna knows exactly what I'm talking about. She just saw her dad as her dad. It must be devastating.
It is. So yeah, guys. So, boys, yous have got the week next week off. The both of yous have got a night off. Me the women are left in the house next week. They went, Mr. Seaton, hello. He's like, I don't want the night off. So yous have got the night off next week, unless of course you want to bring your sister.
I'll put my fake boobs on. I'll see
Oh my gosh! I just saw some of those the other day. They look real. Those look so real. I'm jealous.
P.S. Libby, what I like when Eileen calls me Libby. Libby, what have you been getting from Amazon? You don't want to know, Eileen. You don't want to see my wish list.
Oh, you know, actually, I will say it's perfect that we get the night off next week because, as you guys always know, every other week I see my social worker. So I'll be seeing him next week. So that works out perfectly. So obviously next time I'm back on here, just like today, I won't be seeing him.
All right. No, that's fine, my love. That's fine. So that gives you the night off.
Yeah, I'm having a night off as well because I've got a book to finish.
Right, well,
and then
it works out perfectly. So me and Rosie
You're not going to do it. You're not going to do it tonight. You're not going to do it.
I actually got to tell you guys something, speaking of books, but I'll talk about it after we get off live because it's actually something you guys should know. I think you guys will find interesting.
You're like one of the EastEnders. See when you get to a really good bit in the soap and you want to know what happens next, and then it's, fuck, it's off air.
I did too, Lord.
Chanel wants a night off.
It's a night off. So we will be doing he is booked next week. So we will be talking about psychic dreams, isn't it, Rosie? About like premonitions. So that'll be an interesting show. Tomorrow is controversy night. Not in the way that people would love it to be.
I was going to say, wait, what?
No. I'm not that desperate or hard up. We will be talking about religion and paranormal. So please, strong viewers' discretion advised. And remember, our opinions are our own, and we're not slating MD's religion. We're just talking about religion and paranormal in general. You predicted that. I see you. You're my mystic
because
Meg.
We're all here. That's why.
We'll all be here. So, guys, with that being said, please, I will say it again tomorrow night at the beginning of the show. It's not an insult to anybody. It's not to do with MD's religion. It's just a talk about religion and paranormal because it was brought up by a lot of people last week when we were talking about pareidolia.
Yeah.
Who's your favourite fiction horror writer?
I think she meant to say the actual horror fiction. Yeah.
Horror writer.
It's me.
I don't know any horror writers.
Do you know some? You know that
way with your horror writer. You're
a horror writer.
I write horror.
Horror.
Oh no, Chanel's trying to point out that she seen that question the other night. Somebody wrote, "Who's your favourite fictional horror writer?" Personally, mine's is Wayne Steeden.
Writer as well. I could write both.
Sometimes they go hand in hand, right?
I've never seen you being as a 50 Shades writer,
I could very easily write a ghostly horror story.
Jack the Ripper, Spring Hill Jack.
Wrote V.C. Anderson.
The ghostly prostitute that walks Whitehall.
Oh my god!
You never know.
Well,
Spokenori in the making.
Is that personal ideas?
No, it's the idea I was just given by what was just said.
Right, Mr. Seaton, I'll let you carry on because I always get the days mixed up because if I say I jump to Sunday, you're usually doing something on a Saturday.
No, it's nothing on Sunday. I'm out Saturday. I've been invited out by a wonderful group from Ireland who are coming to Colchester, and they've asked me to go along and join them at their investigation at the Red Lion Hotel in Colchester.
Is that who I think it is?
Somebody, is it who we think we know? Is it my Irish demon? Jenny, Sonny?
I was going to say, is it Jenny?
No, Hugh. Hugh James Capra. They've invited me, Capra. They've invited me to join them at the Red Lion on Saturday, so I'm out with them Saturday night. And then Sunday it's a night off to do some more writing.
Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome. So when are
if
you?
I don't do it'll never get done, and the train will never arrive.
So when are you expecting to finish said book?
You'll have to look at the Irish on Saturday.
I said to myself that
I said to myself, self, and I knew it was me because I smelled like me. No,
I called it overdue, not realising that it was going to take me this long to write it. And I had people like my mum saying, when are you releasing it? When you're releasing it? And I thought, you know what, I'm getting fed up with being asked this. It will be out when it's out. People don't realise that if you're doing other things as well as writing, some things are more important than writing the book.
Yeah.
Like I've
got
4 children, one of them that's autistic and has now got hip problems, and I'm having to deal with all the medical issues there. Another one that's just been diagnosed with ADHD. And my youngest daughter told she's got ADHD, and they want to put a referral in to get her tested for ADHD. And now my other daughter is now turning around and saying, well, could I have autism as well? So I've got all the issues with them to sort out. Then obviously what I do with the paranormal shows and podcasts and everything else. And I'm like, well, my book will come out when it comes out. But the problem I'm finding now is that with overdue, it's taking longer than I thought, because I think it's going to be bigger than I thought.
Yeah.
Because I've looked into it and I've looked at chapters and I've gone, do you know what? I can make this even bigger. And I've ended up putting in a chapter within a chapter. And so far it's going to be the biggest book I've written. And that's why I put my post up on my timeline and in the Spookinori group page the other week, saying some trains are late for a reason.
Yeah, I was just actually thinking the exact same thing.
So, you know, I'm quite proud of this one. And the worst part of it was I got up this morning realising what the day was, and then come up with another idea for a horror story or a ghost story. And I'm just thinking, do you know what? I've got to stop thinking like this, because now I've looked at all the ideas that I've got for my next lot of books. And I've now got over 40 stories to write.
But could you not think that could be a form of adult ADHD and show your children that you can do things that are wonderful and amazing with ADHD if you control it?
I do think it is. My mum said that my oldest son Ethan showed very similar signs similar to what I was showing when I was his age.
Yeah.
And so everybody's now saying, well, maybe you should get tested. And I'm like, I'm 49 years old. I've learned to deal with what I've got.
Me too.
You know, autism wasn't discovered until 1984. And up till that point, they said it's hyperactivity. You just need to ease off the chocolate, take him off and give him some exercise, and he'll be all right. And I wasn't all right. But what I did do instead was I found ways around it. Because my mind was wired differently, it managed to figure out different ways of dealing with things. And I would be forever getting into trouble for not showing the correct working out of mathematical sums on paper. I'd still have the correct answer, but because I worked it out differently to everybody else or worked it out in my head, they didn't like it.
That was my worst issue.
And so I've learned to deal with my issues. But obviously now that the powers that be that diagnose these systems, they want straight away, they're like, right, well, we can set up what they call an education healthcare plan. And they give you a specialist teacher that can assist you. and then they into the classroom. They get specialist treatment as well, so they get the help they need for that issue. They don't actually sit down with that child and talk about the issues they're facing and how they could get around it, as much as they should do.
That would be an outside form of therapy, like an external form of therapy. Like my son goes to therapy every week.
Speech and language therapy. That is all done separately. And then, I mean, now Ethan's got other issues, which are medical issues. So he's now under physiotherapy, as well as having steroid injections in his hips. And then around Christmas time, he's got to have a hip replacement, at the age of 14.
It's terrible.
And then trying to explain to my mum that I've got things like that to worry about. My book is the least of my worries.
Yeah.
So my book will come out when it's ready, and it will be. It will be. I think
it'll probably be even better though because of what you're going through.
I think it will be because the more I'm dealing with other things, when I come back to writing more of the book, my brain is like so sort of all the ideas that have been put in there are all sitting there locked up in my little vault, and then all of a sudden that door's opened and all the ideas are coming out, and I'm like, yes, I can do this with that with this, and the book is slowly getting bigger and bigger. And I'm just hoping that it will get to the stage where, I mean, already it's bigger. It is the biggest book I've written so far already, and I haven't finished.
Oh, jeez, oh.
So it's probably going to be one of these big, thick.
You're growing as a writer.
Stephen King book.
If you're writing bigger books, you're growing as a writer.
Yes.
Well, they have. I mean, my first book was about 54 pages long. And my Cricket, which was my third book, that is 180 odd pages long. And then Job Done went a bit backwards, but then that warranted being a short story because I couldn't put too much into it. But this one, by far, is going to be over 500 pages at least.
Oh, Jesus Christ, Ben.
So,
your hands will be broken. Your hands will be like that by the time you finish. You're just going to be like talking about that.
That's the wonderful thing about technology. If I get tired of typing, I can use voice to text.
That's true. Yeah.
See, because of my Scottish accent, I'm more likely to write a story that doesn't understand me.
I knew as soon as I said voice to text, I'm thinking, Lois, you're going to have a problem doing that.
Do you know
how it even messes up on me, and I speak, like English, and it still says crap that I didn't even say, and I'll send it, and they're like, we're going to go eat ice cream today. I thought we were going to go rob a bank. Or the opposite.
Yeah, that's a lot to do with accent.
I did try that on voice to text on my iPad once, and I got so fed up with it. I went, "No, it's all right. I'll just type it."
And do you know the thing
one specific word?
Do you know the thing is? See if you go onto Amazon, right? I don't know if Eileen finds this right. You go onto Amazon and you watch something Scottish, and you put on the subtitles, right? And see the amount of misprints when they're pronouncing words. It's funny. I sit there and have a right old chuckle. Yeah. And I have tried this word to text because when I got diagnosed with dyslexia, and thank God for spell checker because I don't know where I would be without spell checker.
Yeah.
I tried the word. The voice to text, and I got so frustrated with it because it was not picking up anything that I was saying, and it was doing its own interpretation of what Eileen hilarious.
I need to see this because I want to see this. I want to.
It is quite funny.
Please,
it is quite funny when you try and pronounce something and it's totally misinterprets it. And I noticed
I still love you though. I love you. No matter what it says
you
said, I still love you.
I used to watch some of the Squid Games, and I'd used to watch other sort of Korean or Japanese shows that were still in Japanese but with British subtitles underneath. And then when I'd watch an English show, the subtitles weren't turned off, so they'd stay on. And sometimes these people would be saying things, and I can clearly hear what they're saying.
Good night, Lorna. Thank you for coming in.
That did not say what the person on the screen just said.
Oh no!
Like,
do you know what? I love playing. I love playing dub.
English is a language.
Yeah.
It is. But guys, I'm going to end the show here. See that bloody woman coming in at the last. Nick.
No.
Nick.
He always plays a disappearing act.
I didn't mean to end the show just now and you disappear. Nicholas?
No, that was what the sound was upstairs. It was someone going to disconnect the internet.
That was that. Ali says, have you seen the tune The Fats? Yeah. That was.
Have you seen the Shoe and the Fat sketch?
That was
voice
funny.
activated.
Good night, Sarah Louise. That was really funny. But we will end the show here, guys. Yeah, on you go. See these bloody people.
Go to my page and click the link and vote for me on my page. There's a cut tonight, and I'm trying to be on a magazine cover for Ink Magazine. So please go to my page, Rosie Page, and click the link, and it's free. Just click on there and vote for free. Thank you.
That way. Thank you very much for watching, Eileen. It's been a pleasure. Oh, quickly, Irene, don't go. Eileen, not Irene. Eileen, don't go anywhere. Big, massive shout out to these guys. This is where the funniness is going to become Phantom Paranormal.
She hasn't left yet.
Hallelujah. Type in your name of your group. I know it's Phantom Paranormal, but I'm terrified I've missed out any words.
You have.
Phantom Seekers Paranormal. Yes, Seekers Paranormal. Guys, please go and give them a follow. I will put the link in the description. Go and check them out. I highly recommend you check these guys out. They are great. And this woman never fails. Every Phantom Seekers Paranormal. We rule, okay? Right, you. This woman.
Their investigations are better than the trip to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory experience in Glasgow.
And yes, I know my shirt screams Freddy Krueger.
I know it does. Definitely does. Guys, please go and check these guys out, and I'll tell you why. Because Eileen, every morning without doubt, puts a good morning message. And Eileen has went out of way and done a birthday message for me and everything. Really, this woman's got heart of gold. Please, guys, go and check out the team. They're definitely really, really good. And I will put the link in the description when we finish. And that's it.
In her heart. I'm sorry.
She's blushing.
Sure. Bobby Eileen.
I've actually been following Eileen, I think, for Phantom Seekers Paranormal for a couple of years, because I've known Eileen now for, Eileen, about 3-4, almost 4 years now, I think. Their
page.
Because I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, Eileen, I remember first meeting, or not necessarily like face-to-face, but when I was a guest on what was known as Spiritual Productions back then with Bob and Sally Ann Hunt. So I think that's Eileen originally.
Now. I'm just going to do this just now, Eileen. While you're still here, and that I remember, because I've got a brain like a sieve. But that's because of my IQ. Yep. It's very low.
That's correct.
Yep. So there you go, guys. No, if you click on the link, it should take you there. But definitely, please, guys, go and give this special lady and her team a following, because they deserve it. They deserve it, and I love them. Absolutely love them.
Don't forget Wayne Seaton presents Spook and Ori on Facebook as well.
Oh, for God's sake, wait just now, and I'll go and put your link in the description too, right? Because I don't want you getting upset and falling out with me.
I don't want to have to bring Violet the Bonk on, okay?
Listen, if you want to bring Violet on, I would be happy. Woohoo! You are very kindly be. I love you too, my darling, and especially for you. Wayne, if you put your link in the comment, but Right, guys, I'm disappearing before these three think you something else to talk about.
I'm done. That's it for me.
Good night, all. Have a good night.